Oliver, thanks very much for joining us here at your offices in London. It would be good just to get a sense from you of what you're seeing in terms of the macro picture and how that might be influencing real estate markets as we come through 2024.
Yeah, sure. Well, Richard, you read the press as well and you watch TV and you can tell that it is still very noisy out there when you look at, a lot of events happening on the geopolitical space. We have a lot of elections coming up, so it will remain a noisy year. I think the good news is that inflation has come down significantly. It is still elevated, but it's definitely closer to the central bank target rates. There's still a bit of concern about core inflation, but the fact that it has come down, I think, is very positive for the real estate market. Of course, it has put a lot of pressure on businesses, on consumers, which means that economic growth going forward will be fairly subdued. But the fact that inflation is now down gives the central banks sort of much more room to sort of think about rate cuts in the future.
And looking at the opportunities side, obviously the market has been stalled in terms of activity over the past kind of 12 months. How do you see that going forward and where do you see the opportunities?
Well, I think there's actually a window of opportunity opening for real estate investments. Interest rates have now been stable for quite a while and we've seen very significant corrections in the value of real estate, and I think they provide a very interesting entry point into the market for real estate investors. We know that there is capital available. If you look at sort of fundraising, there seems to be still a lot of dry powder waiting to allocate into the market. And the debt market, the lending market is not closed. So for the right kind of product, there is debt available.
And I suppose looking at some of the sectors, what are you seeing there? A lot of focus obviously on logistics and areas like living, but what's your house take on that?
Yeah, I mean, you have to be selective. It is, I think, a lot about stock picking. I think there are sort of opportunities in a lot of sectors. A lot of people brush over offices. I do believe that the office has a future. It has to be a well-located office, an office with a lot of amenities, an office of very high quality, which is actually quite scarce in many markets. There is definitely a lot of demand still for logistics assets. We see macro trends playing out here, structural changes that drive the demand for real estate. The living sector, very, very active, which plays to a lot of longer-term themes like demographics and further urbanizations. And even retail, which I think a lot of people have not looked at for quite a while. I think even in retail, you have selected opportunities in the form of retail parks or supermarkets. And we have seen a very sort of significant correction in shopping centers. And I think, maybe it's time to think a little bit harder about if there is a future in shopping center investment, selective.
Very interesting to hear that, and interesting also to see how some of those sectors are beginning to change in terms of the views of investors. Thanks very much for joining us, Oliver.
Very much. Bye.